Create that life legacy, designers. Amber Prosia here. Welcome to episode number 19 of the Parenting Biz Podcast, coming to you every single Monday. Now let's chat with this week's featured guest, Natasa Denman. Natasha, are you ready to educate us on your journey of how you crafted the life you've always wanted for yourself and your family?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. Let's go. So Natasa Denman is the ultimate 48-hour author, a highly sought after professional speaker who's actually CSP accredited, a coach and mentor. Natasa is an 8-time published author and creator of the game-changing business model, Ultimate 48-Hour Author. She has helped over 200 solopreneurs become first-time published authors in just 4 years in Australia, the USA, and the UAE. In 7 short years in business, Natasa has been nominated for the Telstra Businesswoman of the Year twice and was a finalist in Oz Mompreneur of the Year in Product Innovation. Appearing in all major media outlets across Australia, including the Sydney Morning Herald, the Financial Review, and The Age, Natasa is changing the way people do business in Australia and the world. She now runs a 7-figure business with her husband and 3 children, traveling the world, spreading their message, and helping small businesses thrive. Natasa, please take a minute to fill in any gaps from that intro and give us a little glimpse of your own personal life.
Well, we're up to 250 authors, as I was listening to you say that, and we're nearing about, actually in about a week's time, we're going to celebrate 8 years in business. So it's going to be our 8th anniversary, and our little kids now are 3, 6, and 9. They've just gone off to school today, and I'm chilling out in my office and doing all the just calm business stuff for today.
Amazing. And you just got back from an awesome trip too. So you'll have to tell us about that, because I believe your son and husband hit one of their bucket lists was going to WrestleMania. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. We went to the US and made it a business trip, but really the main purpose was WrestleMania.
Yeah, incredible. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate having you here today, and especially fitting us into your jam-packed schedule. So thank you. Really appreciate that. No problem. As you are aware, Natasa, our listeners are parents or parents-to-be that realize ownership is key to not only to our parenting or business, but in life in general. And along that parenting journey, we can lose sight of that. However, if we focus on life as a game or an activity, not only can we learn to let go easier, but we can also gain strength from our mistakes and design a core focus to be one of laughter, joy, and most importantly, having fun. Just like a 5-year-old kid in the sandbox. So this week, our entire interview will be running and kicking around the AFL Stadium. For those who don't know what AFL stands for, it's the Australia Football League, also known as footy or Aussie Rules. So welcome to our first game of the season called Mark Your Expertise. Now, as you guys are all aware, this is just an analogy, and we can create and design our lives any way we want. Natasa, this was your chosen sport, so let's go through your daily game and how you make it work with your life and expertise. So let's start off with the field, because we have to start somewhere.
Yes.
And Aussie Rules is actually played on a football field bigger than you've ever seen. It's bigger than an NFL field, a soccer, basketball, or baseball field, with an egg-shaped ball that can take some crazy bounces. So, Natasa, as a business owner, thinking about writing a book, where would you recommend an author to begin the groundwork to get their message out there?
Wow. Well, with me, right? Because when I went on a journey of writing my very first book, I really didn't even know where to start, what to do. I just kind of thought you opened up your computer and you started typing into Word. And little did I know, how easy it can be if you had the structure and the flow, and how you can populate and expand your content once I do what I do for people right now, like just kind of feeding them all the little steps that they need to do, and boom, they get it done so quickly. So I think go to someone who would know or has done it before and ask for some help, and you could probably look things up online as well, but really having someone who you can bounce off really helps with the very first book. So your very first book is going to be always the biggest challenge and the biggest step to overcome that fear of stepping out and sharing your message. Once you've done it once, I think everyone can then take the reins and do it, independently multiple times after that. So it is the first one that I always say is the hardest.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of goes into my next question actually about, especially when it's your first time, you don't know where you're even looking, right? You have all these
Yeah.
expertise in your head, but you don't know where to really begin. Like you said, open up Word document or not. But those can actually feel like we get overwhelmed. And then unfortunately, we don't end up writing the book or we don't publish it or whatever might happen. Do you find that as you go to a coach like yourself, who has the expertise of written multiple books, do you actually feel that you also help calm down the business owners who feel that
Yeah.
overwhelm because you can see that happening?
It's actually probably the biggest job I have to do with my first-time authors, because it is themselves that they have to get over first, and mindset is a big journey on this, on this road that they embark on. And secondary is the strategy and the process. If you don't get through the mindset, you're never going to follow the other steps to actually finish it. So I would say, it's almost like 60% mindset, 40%, how to. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And do you feel that, especially when you were writing a book yourself, but also with other solopreneurs, that they might be in this position, that they're also planning writing the book, then they're also managing a business and potentially raising a family. How do they manage or overcome that stress? Like, I know you mentioned mindset, but is there anything in particular of strategies that you help with that?
Well, of course, our business is called Ultimate 48-Hour Author, which means time-wise, we solve that piece of the puzzle as well, because the involvement on the project prior to our retreat program is 10 to 12 hours of homework, and afterwards about 15 hours. So it's not a hundreds of hours sitting at a computer and doing stuff. So this is where, when I speak and meet people, I say this shouldn't take over your life. You should be able to do all of your other things that you need to do, but you will need to focus while you're away to do your book, as well as a little bit before and after. And then it's really what you do with it, where you need to invest extra time.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, could you just explain what the Ultimate 48-Hour Author Retreats are? And like, if you could just dive in a little bit deeper of what
Yeah,
they
yep.
consist of?
Well, we take people away for 48 hours. Sometimes people ask me, how long are they? And I go, they're 48 hours. So basically, prior to the retreat, I spend a couple of hours one-on-one with the author, and I go through the structure, teaching them how to unpack their book, unpack their chapters, and then they come away with what I like to call their cheat notes or their structure notes. And at the retreat, they actually speak out their content. So they deliver it in a spoken format. And by speaking out 5 hours of audio is actually about 40,000 words, which is your average size book nowadays. And then we get that audio transcribed by our suppliers. And that is where a post-retreat, they need to spend 15 hours cleaning up that audio. So because you cannot send raw transcript to an editor. So you do need to go through a cleanup process, and after which you can put your manuscript in for editing and all the other stages that go into the publishing process.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. And I love that you guys actually use that through audio, because I feel like many people get stuck with just on that blank page, but if they're speaking, it can roll off their tongue, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and especially because they do have notes, so they're not talking off the top of their heads. They can be more conversational. I mean, spoken books can be read twice as fast by the reader, because they fly through the content. It's very easy to read. When we speak, we don't use as complicated language as we do when we sit down to type away. And yeah, it saves a ton of time, and it's a lot more easy to digest for the reader.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you do that for your first couple books as well? Is that how you started yours?
First book, no, because I didn't even realize that you could do it that way, and it took me ages. I mean, I took me 3 months to get that book finished, even though in most people's worlds 3 months is not a long time to write a book. But in how rapidly I do them nowadays, it's like, it's 100 times faster, in the new way that I do it. And the other day I even sat down, like, to go, okay, maybe my next book I'll type, because just the sheer experience of typing, because I can type pretty fast, I can touch that. And I started doing it. I did the introduction, and I go, oh my God. I go, no. I said, I just got bored at the end of it. I go, I want to speak it out, because I can be a lot more passionate and explain a lot more. Like, I can almost think and speak faster than I can type. So therefore, I decided to go back to my other way and actually execute it the way the 48-hour system is designed.
Beautiful. I love it. Let's move into the next element, which is tremendous athletes. So just for those who don't know about AFL athletes, they are commonly basketball sized with the hands and foot speed of an NFL wide receiver and the stamina greater than a soccer player. So we as business owners, we need to fuel ourselves exactly like a high performance athlete to give our ultimate best, not only in the work world, but at home as well. What are some tricks and tips that you encourage new authors to stay focused and motivated to keep writing or speaking and getting that book finished?
Consistency is key. You need to really set when you're going to work on your on your book project, and ensure that you treat that time as if it's a paying client. Because if you don't, it's so easy to go, I'm not inspired today, I can't be bothered, and all that kind of stuff. So that's actually how I finished my first book in 3 months, is actually I set 2-hour writing sessions a week. And I would literally sit in front of the computer, either stare at it and do nothing, but still stick to the time that I allocated, or, sort of type a half a page, or sometimes I would be really flowing and feeling inspired. So I would smash out, 5 or 6 pages in one sitting. And my goal was really to get to 7 pages per week, which would eventually get me to 90 pages in Word over the 90 days that I had set. And that would give me that 40,000 words. So I sort of reverse engineered. I like to reverse engineer numbers, whether it's dollars or amounts of words or things like that, and then stick to a consistent schedule. Like basically, the famous saying, what gets scheduled gets done, applies here. And that routine of doing it consistently, even with my authors, I mean, they do need to clean up their manuscripts, and 15 hours in cleanup, it cannot be done in one go. It's really tedious and boring. That's the most boring part I could say about the whole process. And that's why I say, look, just do 1 chapter a day. And after 12 days, you'll have your whole book done, and you would have only spent an hour and a half each time. But then you're also going to do a good job. You're not going to be sort of rushing through it and get really complacent with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really fits in well too with parenting, because you probably book those times in between school or daycare or naps, whatever it might be.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, when the baby naps, I know with my first child is when my business was really at startup stage, and I needed to hustle hard and really study and how to market my business, as well as just bring out a lot of content, keep building it up. And it was in those first couple of years, because he was 18 months old when this all started, and I didn't have the other 2 children, but I know he still had that good 2 to 3 hour nap in the middle of the day, and I used to get so much done in it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's actually interesting you mentioned even study, because so I'm about to have a baby, as you know. I'm about 38 weeks tomorrow, so any day now. And that was actually one thing that I've just made a table and put like some DVDs, so when I'm breastfeeding and I'm just chilling there with the baby, I can actually still be upskilling and learning. It might be a book I might feel like, it might be watching a DVD or nothing, or it could be audio. But at least those are there so that I'm not losing sight of that, and just so it's fantastic that you made time for that too. How has it been maintaining a healthy lifestyle while on the road traveling? Because you just came back from a massive trip. If you want to share, you're welcome to. But with speaking and teaching abroad, how do you still make it a priority to keep your energy levels at your maximum performance?
Well, that's a question, and I actually have done a couple of live streams about this, because a lot of people often, the biggest question people always ask me, because when they observe or follow me on social media, they say, where do you get all that energy from? How do you do it? Like, I just get tired from watching you. Because we have, like, since mid-January, and now we're in mid-May, so exactly 4 months, we have probably been on 50 flights. We've been on 2 long-haul trips, which was to Dubai and to the US, and then I launched in New Zealand, but did a whole national tour around Australia as well. So it has been the most intense period ever in travel. Usually they go for a couple of months. This one went on for 4 months, but I'm at the other end of it. I exercise 4 times a week, and obviously I have a personal trainer that comes twice a week to my house, but obviously she's not going to be on the road with me. So when she's not on the road with me, I use this 7-minute workout app. on my phone, and I make sure I do my 4 times. Even though it's 7 minutes, it's still like gets your heart pumping, and it's moderate amount of exercise. And also when I am with my PT, I do 2 with her, 2 intense sessions for half an hour with her, and then I do my 2 7-minute workouts. And I have felt the last 3 years I've been consistent at it for 4 times a week without fail. And I feel like that gives me that routine and keeps me, more energized. I don't do it for weight loss or things like that, but actually to just get the energy flowing in my brain and body and, in the blood. The food has been a little bit more of a challenge. Thank God that I'm blessed with a fast metabolism, because you can sort of be in other countries where you don't have too much choice. You can only eat twice a day because you get busy between events and things like that. But I do my best to keep to my 3 meals and all that kind of stuff. And even now back home, my husband and I just the last couple of weeks have started just ordering in some of those pre-organized meals where you just kind of put all the stuff together. They give you all the ingredients, so you kind of just hardly have to think. And that's kept up the variety of what we eat rather than just going for the same thing, and not needing to shop for so many different ingredients. So we just kind of get some fresh, food and dinners and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I make sure I look after myself, because if I don't look after that, the food and the exercise and also meditation as well, that's something that I started doing about 7 months ago, and I aim to do 4 times a week as well. Like with the exercise, that has added in more, I guess, zen to my very, very, energetic and, bubbly personality, just brings me back to balance and all that sort of stuff. So it's really exciting, and everything pulled everything together. It works, but it requires commitment. It's not something that I get up and go, I'm just going to meditate now, I'm just going to exercise. I have to really just go, no, it's part of the routine and just has to be done, just like brushing your teeth.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you always do things in the morning? Like, have you found just before your day even begins? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to tick everything off my list. Like how they say, do the worst thing first. And for me, I'm not a fan of exercise, but I know I need to do it, because now as we get older as well, I just turned 40 last year, 41 actually next week. I can see that obviously the energy levels if you don't use it, you lose it.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the idea behind it, because you can just become so sluggish if you don't do it. So I just know for a little bit of pain, and for me, if I think about it, it's 1 hour and 14 minutes of exercise a week, 2 half-an-hour sessions and 2 7-minute workouts, and feel like on top of the world, like 20-year-olds energy levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, when you do get older too, you lose it quicker, right?
Exactly. So you really have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, and you want to then be able to keep up with your children too, because now they're getting at really good active ages and involved in things, and you're still running the business, so you want to keep that high performance up there too. So fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's move into the next element called multiple skills, because in AFL you need to have quite a few skills. So you have to kick, you got to run, you got to handle or have handball, to name a few as well. What would recommend some recommended skills you would suggest before someone writes a book?
Okay, skills before. I say to people, if you can speak, you can write a book, if you're passionate about a topic. So realistically, I mean, you just have to have the passion to want to do it and the idea, and then of course be able to turn that idea into something that the market's going to be curious about or interested. So this is where I talk to my guys about, you might be overwhelmed and have more than one idea in your mind, but we want to pick the one that's going to give you the most leverage to begin with, because the smartest one to do first is the one that will be related to your business, that will help you be more credible, all that sort of stuff. And then if you have passion projects, do those second once you've monetized your business and taken it to the next level, and you can do whatever you want after that. But other skills, look, I haven't got a literary degree. I didn't speak English before I was 14. You know what I mean? I didn't have anything, just the topic. You want to make sure that you're an expert in your topic, that you have got a lot of value that will be added to people's lives. And if the book is a personal story, I mean, then you just have to be able to recall whatever way things happen and be able to document all of those things. So I mean, I think a lot of people already have everything within them to write their own books. So the other skills, of course, I certainly highly recommend that you outsource to experts to know what they're doing, because you're not going to be doing your editing or your layout or book cover designs. Please don't do that stuff yourself, because it's going to be a disaster.
Yep, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned about outsourcing, because you don't have to know every single element yourself.
No.
You outsource it. But what about building a 7-figure business? What additional skills did you feel that you needed to learn or master before you got there?
That's a different question.
Yes.
A lot of skills, from marketing to being great at sales, from being able to understand how do I add value to audiences that over a period of time going to build rapport with me, that ultimately one day might want to work with me. Look, you need a ton of skills. What I thought at the beginning is that you go, like I started off as a life coach. I thought you go in, you get your life coaching skills up, so you know what to do when you're working with clients. That was like a teeny tiny percentage of what I needed to know. And like 90% of the other stuff was how to grow the business, how to sell, how to package myself, how to, market, use social media, use a lot of this techie stuff like webinars and, podcasts and things like that. And, it hasn't been all overnight, but I did spend a lot of money and energy and time on educating myself, especially in the first 2 to 3 years was the most intense. I still continue to do it on a regular basis, but it's not like it was in the first 2 to 3 years, to upskill really, rapidly, so that, of course, I want to stay in business. Therefore, I needed to learn as much as possible in the shortest period of time. So I did invest in the first 3 years. I would probably say close to $70,000 or $80,000 in education, mentors, courses, experts that were helping me, and just literally reinvested everything that I was earning so I can get it again into the positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel now that you is your next goal to go 8 figures, or you just want to keep maintaining and enhancing your 7-figure and make it more solid and
Yeah, I do want to get to the $2 million mark, which we're gonna get we've been hovering around 1.3, 1.5. But I think my goal is not to have a team of 20 or 30 people, like some perhaps people that might want to do that. I actually want my business to remain a fully fledged family business. My husband is obviously full-time in it for the last 5.5 years. My mum just joined our team about 4 months ago when we did start this crazy 4-month tour, and I basically was blessed to say to her in November last year to say, hey, how about you stop doing your cleaning job, which you've been doing for the last 20 years, getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, and if you would like, only come and help us with the kids when we are needing to get on a plane, not so much like now. For example, this week we're here, we're at home, we can do drop-offs, pickups, everything. She doesn't need to be doing that kind of stuff. So mom's sort of responsible for being with them here for about 70 days in the year, because we've worked out that's how many days we would be somewhere interstate or overseas. Mm-hmm. And I pay her a full-time wage, and I've also trained her up to do my bookkeeping, and she does my product postage, so she posts like planners and books out whenever orders come in. So I've given her a few other extra responsibilities, but in a way she's in a almost in retirement, semi-retirement if you want to call it. And then we have a virtual assistant in the Philippines who does like admin logistics, but low level sort of admin, not really, hiring venues or booking flights. We are responsible for that. Stuart's responsible for booking venues. I'm responsible for booking flights and all that sort of stuff. So realistically, we have a very tiny team. But as I said, I want to give people the feeling and the experience of being a full family-fledged business, and the revenue of the aim of 2 million, and even where we're at now, where we sit in terms of profit and everything, we're able to invest a lot in obviously assets that in 5-10 years time there will be, positive cash flow and all that. So aiming towards that financial independence so that when I do hit 50, I will have the choice of whether I want to keep doing what I'm doing or just do whatever I want, because there will be enough cash flow to sustain the lifestyle we want to live.
Beautiful. I love it. Let's move into the next element, which is stadium, because you've touched a couple of questions that I have lined up for us.
Right.
So the MCG, because you are from Melbourne as well.
Yes.
So I have to talk about the MCG for our audience who doesn't know. So that stands for the Melbourne Cricket Ground, but it's the 10th largest stadium in the world and the largest stadium in Australia and actually the Southern Hemisphere. It holds over 100,000 fans. Yeah. But the G, as affectionately known to the locals, is so much more than Australia's biggest sporting stadium. It has hosted papal and royal visits and housed U.S. Marines, the U.S. Army Air Forces, and our own RAAF during World War II. It has also been a concert venue for international and local performers, and it's held open days, charity events, dinners, and many more items. So just like publishing a book, you may want to sell X amount of copies. Do you always get a business owner to set a goal in mind before writing or publishing that book of how many copies they want to be sold?
No, I'm not interested in book sales.
Yeah, no, totally.
Go on.
I was going to say it's totally cool because you mentioned about the leverage of the book and choosing that topic. How do you, just like the G does, how do you repurpose your book to get more sales and your expertise out there?
Yeah, cool. So the money is not in the book sales. A lot of the time I actually encourage my authors to give away their books for free. To key influencers, to organizers of events and places like that, give it away as a door prize. I mean, certainly you'll sell some books for sure. I still sell books all of the time. Whenever I'm speaking, my book table is set up at the back of the room, and I'll, every event, $500 to $1,000 of product will go without me even saying anything, because people see it, they see me speak and all that sort of stuff. So that will happen, but it's not the major focus, because books purely are not going to transform someone's life. There might be something good to read, a couple of tips in there, but really books are information and knowledge. Where I believe transformation occurs is at implementation. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is use the book as the business card on steroids, as I like to say, and then get the person to trust, and know us so that they feel comfortable to inquire further with us in terms of working on a deeper level on whatever problem we're solving. Mm-hmm. And so when they do work with you, in your higher end programs or whatever it is, online courses, where you go deeper and there's more hand holding, it is at that stage that the person's going to really do something about their problem. A lot of the time, if you think about, look at the weight loss industry. How many people buy weight loss books? How many people have weight loss books in their house? I think every person does. But have they followed them? Did they do the work? Did they, get the result? You'd probably find that most, if not, nearly everyone, just lets them sit on the kitchen shelves wherever they file away their books. So I also say the same thing to my people. Like when I meet them at my introductory event, everyone gets a copy of my book. And I said, guys, you've got the whole system in your hand. Here in this 4-hour workshop, you're going to learn a lot about how to do this, and you could take away and do it by yourself, but will you do it? You won't, because the reality is most of you will have the fear and the mindset that's going to hold you back, even though you know the structure and the process that I sort of give you and take you through. And then secondly, because, then you've got to find your own suppliers and all that kind of stuff, it can become a bit overwhelming when you don't know who to trust and all that sort of stuff. So in reality, most of you who walk out of this room and actually don't do and progress and do, the retreat program will never become authors. And it's true, because I've seen it now on the other side of 5 years who's progressed and who has finished. And we have 93% completion rate when people do our program. So, it's massive. It's when people commit that they do the work, and that's why it's not really about the book sales, because really the change that the difference we're looking to make in the world is where we get to implement with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you even said that, your book is like your business card on steroids. Do you even actually hand out business cards, or literally that is your business card now?
Sometimes I do. I do have them with me. Like, I'm not going to give a book to every single person. But the other week, for example, I spoke at an event and I got to meet a person who was organizing a 2,000 attendee conference next year in February. And she said, "I loved your talk. I want to talk with the organizing committee how we can potentially get you to speak in front of this at this conference. Do you do speaking like that?" I said, "Of course. 2,000 people. I said, "Yeah, absolutely." She can give me your business card, and I actually happened to have forgotten my business cards at home, and I just took a book because I said this is a no-brainer. Even if I had a business card, I'm not going to give her my business card. I'm going to give her my book, and So she was a person of influence on an organizing committee too. So of course I'm going to give that. So I use my judgment as to whom I will give an actual book to. Even though, books are not all that expensive to print if you go into high quantities. Like when I print 1,000 books of my Ultimate 48-Hour Author book, it costs me about $3.10, $3.50 at the most, which is not a significant amount, but sometimes people may not be able to afford to get the 1,000 or more, where they're going to store it and all that can be a challenge. But at the end of the day, if you think of some of the opportunities that they might bring you, now at the other end of those opportunities probably lies a lot of sales and other opportunities. So you just, always have, think that maybe 10 to 20% of what you've printed might be given away for free.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for all those, and especially the numbers too. Probably appreciate that. You mentioned about having the credibility. Now, I'm assuming and I'm guessing in this place that obviously having a book increases the credibility, and that's just natural instinct for human beings. We automatically give someone a higher credential if they have a book. But you mentioned earlier about usually, obviously, before you even write a book, you're already an expert in that field, right? You're already passionate about that. Do you still find, though, if a person has a book, that their credibility skyrockets quicker for even maybe newbies that haven't heard of you before? Yep, awesome. So let's move into the element of the audience, which is the raving fans, because AFL is actually the 4th highest average attendance of any domestic sport league in the world, which is massive. So that means there's some serious fans. Do you help business owners create raving fans, or before they even write the book, do they already have raving fans?
Most of the people that we actually tend to attract are ones that are invisible, and we help them almost build that fame around their message, not in a celebrity way, but in a way that they do start to stand out and they do start to get opportunities and being asked to speak and all that. Because my journey was one that I was invisible. I decided to write my book 7 months after starting my own business. I had only one paying client at that time. I had 2 paying clients when the book came out. So it really was the defining moment of what leveraged my business from 2 clients to the next 90 days being, fully booked weight loss coaching practice at the time. That was my niche. And I was pregnant during that whole time and had a newborn when the book came out. So my second baby was born as the book was being born, literally 2 days apart. And then I had to juggle a second newborn with my toddler, as well as getting out there and really making the book, starting to do stuff, for me, which is ultimately what got me to quit my day job, because I never quit my day job until 13 months after starting the business. I literally went on maternity leave at that 13th month. And never returned back to work because I was able to get it fully booked. So because that's my story and my journey, I tend to attract those people who want to use the book as a launch pad in building their profile, building their fans, building their credibility so that, they start monetizing their business. We do attract people who are already celebrity status, but I would say it would be 80-20. It would be 80% that are newbies and 20% are the ones that are really already abundant in every way. They just have not done this last bit and everyone else is asking them to do it.
Yeah, awesome. So how have you leveraged and collaborated potentially to help you create raving fans? Because you obviously then teach that to help your authors as well. Is that correct? Or do you collaborate with someone? Yeah. So what do you exactly do with like some examples to help them understand leverage and collaboration in this world? for co-authors?
Yeah. Well, I'm big on social media. I love building communities around me, as well as I go out networking quite a lot. Just nowadays, not as much as a participant. I tend to speak at a lot of events, and that's how I get my networking sort of done. But I've always had this rule of thumb to go out twice a week and be at events. As I said, nowadays either I'll host my own events. I do about 50 of my own self-hosted events a year, and the other 50 would be, say, 40 of the other 50 would be ones I speak at, and maybe 10 I'll just attend as a participant. But I do a lot of that, and then I further connect to people with on social media, and sometimes I do run into people who might be ideal joint venture partners. So you would know Francesca Moy, who is known as the Meetup Queen. We met 2.5 years ago, and just it was love at first sight. We feel we call each other sis nowadays, and we stay at each other's houses because she's based in Brisbane and I'm based in Melbourne. And our collaboration brings us, look, $250,000 of business to each other's businesses every year, because we're not in competition in terms of what we're offering, but we're perfect fit. Like, her clients need what I offer, what problem I solve, and vice versa. And so that's been an amazing one. I have a partner in Dubai who helped me launch the business in Dubai. And of course, that's an actually fully fledged partnership where we have profit share and all that kind of stuff. So we've both invested in, so there's different ways you can set up collaborations. There's ones that no money crosses hands. It's just more kind of referral based. And then there's obviously other ones where, the full financials, there's full accounting systems and profit and losses and all that kind of stuff that happen where you collaborate. So certainly we teach this to our authors and what to look out for and who would be their ideal joint venture partners and all that kind of stuff. But really the baseline and the foundation behind all of this and how you become successful is when you focus on building relationships, and the relationships then naturally evolve to helping each other out.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks so much, Tasha. That's brilliant. Let's get closer to wrapping up. So we're going to have an extra time 1-minute round. And this is just for you to share your one word of wisdom with us. So I'm going to say one word. And if you can say the first word that comes to your mind when you hear it.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. Ownership.
Responsibility.
Values.
Fun.
Collaboration.
Leverage.
Delegating.
Outsourcing.
Life.
Kids.
Health.
Yummy.
Fear.
Doubt.
Children.
3.
Friends.
Francesca popped into my mind, so Francesca.
Okay, perfect. Business.
Hubby.
Pleasure.
Son.
Marketing.
Facebook.
Mindset.
Is everything.
Yep. Books.
Leverage.
Ego.
Jealousy.
Travel.
World.
Family.
Together.
Systems.
Essential.
Speaking.
Fame.
Cars.
Nissan, because I bought one last yesterday.
Yes, congratulations. That's amazing. Beaches.
Thailand.
Education.
Mentors.
Drinks.
Sambuca.
Entrepreneurs.
Success.
Awesome. That's it, Natasha. Thank you so much. So is there anything else you'd like to add from today's game before you let our audience know how people can get in touch with you? Because I'm sure they're dying to know. So is there anything else you'd like to say from today's
Well, I have a famous quote that I developed myself and that I share always at the end of each of my events. And I always say to people, it's actually it's not about writing your first book. It's actually about the person you become at the other end of it. Because often people think it's about the book, it's about the book, it's about the book, but really the journey that you take, and when you're holding it at the other end, it is you that has transformed, and it is that new version or identity and shift that you experience when you are at the other end of the journey that then starts to attract the opportunities. So it's actually the person you becomes that, the magnet for the opportunities. So yeah, it's not about writing your first book. It's about the person you become.
I love it. That's amazing. Definitely a great way to end the game. So
Yeah.
Natasha, how can people get in touch with you? And anything that you share, I'll put in the show notes as well. So please let us know. How can we work with you?
So I've just have my business website, which is ultimate48hourauthor.com.au. And if your listeners put a /gift to that address, then they can go and grab a full e-book version of Ultimate 48 Hour Author. So they can grab the whole book, they can read it. And if they want to check out one of our preview half-day workshops, which are super high valuable, super fun, there's obviously an events tab on the website that can go along to that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's
my
been
pleasure.
Awesome having you on the show. Thank you so much
for
sharing all your knowledge with us. Really appreciate it. And
Thanks, Amber.
No problem. Thank you so much, listeners, for listening to today's episode. We really appreciate and love you all. If you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, or follow us on your chosen platform. And of course, share with anyone that you could see benefiting from it. For those who are new and are brand new to listening to our show, you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Podbean, and or Spotify. And we'll be releasing our next episode every Monday. So look forward to tuning in then, and have a wonderful week. Bye, guys.